The massive orbital station called Unity floated silently above Earth. Its curved walls gleamed in the sunlight. Today was special. Representatives from all 17 species of the Galactic Commonwealth had gathered to celebrate 1,000 years of peace with humans. Admiral Gregory Carter adjusted his formal uniform collar and frowned at his reflection. He was a tall man with gray hair at his temples and deep lines around his eyes from years of service. Carter preferred the simple comfort of his regular uniform, but diplomatic events required the full dress version with all its stiff fabrics and shiny metals. "Admiral, they're waiting for you in the main hall," said Lieutenant Susan Mills from the doorway. She was young and eager, excited to witness such a historic event. Carter nodded. "Thank you, Lieutenant. Let's not keep our friends waiting." The main gathering hall of Unity Station was enormous. Its ceiling rose 50 meters high and was made of transparent material that showed the stars above. Creatures of all shapes, sizes, and colors mingled together. Some had scales, others fur. Some floated in special liquid tanks while others needed breathing masks. The variety of life in the galaxy still amazed Carter even after 30 years of service. "Ah, Admiral Carter," called out Ambassador Trell, a short, four-armed being with purple skin. "A glorious day, is it not? 1,000 years without conflict between our peoples." Carter smiled politely. "Indeed, Ambassador. A remarkable achievement." He didn't mention that the Border Security Force, which he commanded, had dealt with 16 separate incidents in the past year alone that could have sparked war if handled poorly. Peace wasn't something that just happened. It was something carefully maintained through vigilance, strength, and restraint. The ceremonies began with speeches from representatives of each species. Carter half listened while observing the Macrovian delegation standing off to one side. They were tall, thin beings with gray skin and large black eyes. Unlike the other delegations, they seemed tense, their movements stiff and formal. High Commander Zaxtur of the Macrovians had not joined in the social mingling. Carter had met him only once before and found him coldly logical and dismissive of humans. Now the Macrovian leader stood apart, speaking quietly with his aides. Something wasn't right. Carter caught the eye of Commander Diane Powell across the room and nodded slightly toward the Macrovians. She blinked twice in acknowledgement and casually moved closer to their group. A human diplomat was giving a speech about friendship and cooperation when Carter noticed several Macrovians slip out of the hall. His instincts, honed through years of military service, sent warning signals through his body. A moment later, his personal communicator vibrated. The message from security was simple. "Macrovians accessing primary comm array. Unauthorized." Carter kept his face neutral as he stepped back from the crowd. Lieutenant Mills appeared at his side as if sensing his concern. "Sir, security reports. Macrovians have locked down the communications center," she whispered. Before Carter could respond, the huge screens around the hall that had been showing images of cooperation between species suddenly changed. The face of High Commander Zaxtur filled every screen. The room fell silent. "Attention, representatives of the Galactic Commonwealth," Zaxtur's voice boomed through the hall. "And especially to the humans among you. Today marks not just the anniversary of peace, but its end." Gasps and murmurs spread through the crowd. Carter's hand moved instinctively to where his sidearm would normally be, but weapons weren't allowed at diplomatic functions. "For 1,000 of your Earth years, the Macrovian Imperium has watched humanity spread across the stars like a disease," continued Zaxtur. "You breed without control. You consume resources without thought. Your very existence threatens the future of properly ordered species." The alien's face showed no emotion as he spoke. "The peace treaty signed by our ancestors was a mistake. One we now correct. The Macrovian Imperium hereby declares formal war against the human species and all who ally with them." The hall erupted in chaos. Representatives from other species shouted questions or protests. Some ran for the exits. Carter stood perfectly still, watching the screen. "You have 3 standard cycles, what you would call Earth days, to surrender unconditionally," Zaxtur stated. "After that time, we will begin systematic operations against all human worlds." Those who surrender will be allowed to live under Macrovian guidance. Those who resist will be eliminated. The message was being broadcast not just to the station, but to every human colony and settlement across known space. Billions of people were hearing this declaration of war at the same time. Security officers rushed into the hall. Commander Powell approached Carter, her face serious. "Sir, we've lost control of the station's communication systems. The Macrovians have locked us out." Carter nodded, still watching the screen. "And their delegation?" "Gone, sir. They had a ship waiting. They're already out of range." As Zach's tour finished his speech, a strange sound began to fill the room. It started low and then grew louder. Laughter. Admiral Carter was laughing. At first, it was just a small chuckle, then it grew into a hearty laugh that shook his shoulders. Other humans in the room began to join in. Not all of them. Some looked worried or angry, but enough that the alien representatives stared in confusion. "Admiral, are you well?" asked Ambassador Trell, clearly concerned. Carter wiped a tear from his eye. "I'm sorry, Ambassador, it's just that—" He chuckled again. "The Macrovians have made a terrible mistake." A tall, insect-like being stepped forward. "Human Carter, your people have just been threatened with extinction. This is no laughing matter." "With respect, Ambassador Kazit, you don't understand humans very well if you think this is bad news," Carter replied. "We haven't survived as a species by being unprepared." He touched a small pin on his collar. Not a decoration, but a secure communications device. "Central Command, this is Admiral Carter. Implement Protocol Sleeping Giant. Authorization Code Echo 9 Delta 7. The response was immediate. "Protocol confirmed, Admiral. Sleeping Giant is now active." Around the room, other human military personnel were having similar conversations with their commands. Their faces showed not fear, but focus and determination. Carter turned to the gathered representatives of the Commonwealth. "My friends, please return to your homeworlds immediately. Inform your governments that humanity values the 1,000 years of peace we have shared. We regret the Macrovians have chosen this path, but we are prepared to walk it." Ambassador Trell looked puzzled. "But Admiral, the Macrovian fleet is 3 times the size of your known defense forces. Their technology is advanced. How can you be so calm?" Carter smiled. It wasn't a happy smile, but a predator's grin. "Because, dear Ambassador, what the Macrovians know about our defense forces is exactly what we've allowed them to know." As the alien representatives filed out, Lieutenant Mills approached Carter. "Sir, the Nightshade Battle Group is requesting deployment orders. Tell them to proceed to defensive positions around our outer colonies," Carter replied. "And Susan?" "Yes, Admiral. Send a message to the Macrovians. Tell them we accept their declaration of war and look forward to demonstrating why humans have smiled in the face of threats for our entire history." The 1,000-year peace was over. But as Carter watched the stars through Unity Station's transparent ceiling, he knew humanity had never been more ready for war. Lieutenant Patricia Reeves stood on the bridge of the stealth battlecruiser, Nightshade. The ship floated silently in the darkness of space, hidden behind the small moon of New Eden Colony. No radar could detect it, no sensors could find it. The ship was a ghost. Patricia was 32 years old with short brown hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing. She had served in the Shadow Fleet for 10 years, training for a war that most civilians thought would never come. "Status report," she said to her crew. The bridge was quiet except for the soft beeping of computers and the low hum of life support systems. Officer Frank Miller looked up from his station. "All systems normal, Lieutenant. The Macrovian fleet has entered the system. 14 warships moving toward New Eden. They'll be in attack range in 20 minutes. Patricia nodded. The Macrovians had chosen New Eden as their first target. The colony was home to 3 million people and was known throughout the Commonwealth as a peaceful farming world. What the Macrovians didn't know was that it was also home to one of humanity's most advanced defense systems. "Communications, patch me through to Admiral Carter," Patricia ordered. Admiral Carter's face appeared on the main screen. He was on Earth, millions of miles away, but the quantum communication system made it seem as if he were in the room. Lieutenant Reeves, the Macrovian fleet is approaching your position, Carter said. You know what to do. Yes, sir. We're ready. The signal ended. Patricia turned to her crew. Battle stations. Prepare to reveal ourselves on my mark. Around her, the crew moved with calm efficiency. These men and women had trained countless hours for this moment. They had never fought a real battle against an alien species, but they were ready. Lieutenant, said Officer Miller, the Macrovians are sending a message to the colony. They're demanding immediate surrender. Patricia smiled. Let me guess. They're saying they have overwhelming force and resistance is pointless? Almost word for word, ma'am. On the main screen, Patricia could see the colony of New Eden. Its dome cities gleamed in the light of the system's sun. From space, it looked peaceful and vulnerable. The colony governor is responding to the Macrovians, reported Communications Officer Kelly Ward. She's asking for time to evacuate civilians. The Macrovians will refuse, Patricia said. They want to make an example of New Eden to frighten other colonies into surrendering. As if on cue, Officer Ward announced, the Macrovians have denied the request. They're moving into position to disable the colony's communications array. Patricia took a deep breath. Now we show them why humans were smiling. Activate the colony defense grid. On the surface of New Eden, hidden doors in the ground slid open. Massive defense cannons rose from underground bunkers where they had waited for centuries. Around the colony, energy shields flickered to life, covering the dome cities in protective bubbles. The Macrovian ships hesitated, clearly surprised by the defenses. They had expected an easy victory over an unprotected colony. Now it's our turn, Patricia said. Disengage stealth systems, power up weapons, bring us out from behind the moon. The nightshade shimmered into visibility as its stealth systems turned off. It was a sleek black ship with predatory lines. Along its hull, weapon ports opened, revealing advanced energy cannons that no human ship was supposed to have. The nightshade was not alone. 5 more ships appeared, rising from the dark side of the moon or dropping their stealth fields. In moments, the Macrovian fleet found itself surrounded by human warships that shouldn't have existed. Open a channel to the Macrovian flagship, Patricia ordered. A moment later, the face of a Macrovian commander appeared on screen. His gray skin paled even further when he saw Patricia. This is Lieutenant Patricia Reeves of the Earth Defense Force. You have entered human space with hostile intent. You will power down your weapons and engines immediately. The Macrovian commander's large black eyes widened. What is this trickery? Human military records show no such fleet in this system. Patricia smiled. There's a lot about humans that isn't in your records, Commander. We accept your declaration of war. Let us show you what that means. Before the Macrovian could respond, Patricia cut the communication. Target their engines and weapons. Disable, don't destroy. The human ships fired in perfect coordination. Blue energy beams struck the Macrovian vessels with surgical precision. Within minutes, 12 of the 14 alien ships floated powerless, in space, unable to fight or flee. The remaining 2 ships turned to escape, accelerating quickly. Should we pursue? Asked Officer Miller. Patricia shook her head. No, let them go. Let them tell others what happened here. She opened a channel to all human ships. Well done, everyone. First battle of the war and not a single human life lost. As the crew celebrated this small victory, Patricia received a private message from Earth. It was from General Alan Harper, the head of Earth's defense forces. His face was serious as he appeared on her personal screen. Lieutenant Reeves, your success at New Eden was expected, but still impressive. However, this is just the beginning. The Macrovians will return with a larger force. We need to activate all our hidden resources. Patricia nodded. The Sleeping Giant protocol is fully operational, sir. Shadow fleets are revealing themselves across human space. General Harper's face showed grim satisfaction. Good. What the Macrovians don't understand is that we've been preparing for this possibility for 1,000 years. Every generation has added to our defenses while maintaining the appearance of a purely peaceful civilization. On her screen, Patricia could see data flowing in from across human territory. Manufacturing facilities that had officially produced farm equipment were now producing tanks and aircraft. Orbital platforms listed as scientific research stations were revealing weapon systems. Civilian ships were being quickly upgraded with military technology that had been hidden within their designs. What about the Commonwealth? Patricia asked. Will they join the fight? Most species are staying neutral for now, Harper replied. They're shocked by both the Macrovian attack and our response. They never knew we had these capabilities. And the Macrovians, what's their next move? Harper's expression darkened. Our intelligence suggests they're gathering their main fleet. They still believe they can overwhelm us with numbers. They don't understand that what they saw at New Eden was just a fraction of our true strength. As if to confirm his words, Patricia's tactical display updated to show hundreds of human ships appearing across space. Some emerged from hidden bases in asteroid fields. Others rose from gas giant planets where they had been concealed in the swirling storms. Still others dropped their stealth fields after years of silent patrol. It's beautiful, Patricia whispered as she watched humanity's hidden strength reveal itself. General Harper nodded. 1,000 years of peace, 1,000 years of preparation. The Macrovians thought we had grown soft. They're about to learn how wrong they were. The communication ended. Patricia turned back to her crew. Set course for the Tau Ceti system. The Macrovians will likely strike there next and we'll be waiting. As the nightshade moved away from New Eden, Patricia looked back at the colony they had protected. The people there would sleep safely tonight because of ships like hers, ships that had waited patiently in the darkness for a war everyone hoped would never come. Dr. Samantha Wright worked quickly in her laboratory deep beneath the Rocky Mountains on Earth. The facility had existed for over 800 years, unknown to most humans and completely hidden from alien knowledge. Here, scientists had spent centuries studying the biology, technology, and culture of every known alien species. Samantha was 50 years old with streaks of silver in her dark hair. She had spent 30 years as the lead xenobiologist at the Commonwealth Science Academy. To her alien colleagues, she was a brilliant researcher focused on interspecies medicine. None of them knew her real mission, mapping the biological weaknesses of every sentient species. The door to her lab slid open. Dr. Lawrence Peterson walked in carrying 2 cups of coffee. He was a tall man with kind eyes and a serious expression. Thought, "You could use this," he said, placing a cup on her desk. "Have you slept at all?" Samantha took the coffee gratefully. "No time for sleep. The Macrovians just used their bioweapon on the Tau Ceti colony." Lawrence's eyes widened. "Casualties?" "0, Samantha replied with a small smile. "Just as we planned." On the large screen before them, data streamed in from the colony. 5 years earlier, Samantha had identified a potential biological agent in Macrovian weapons research. Without revealing her knowledge, she had developed a vaccine and quietly added it to the standard health supplements distributed to all outer colonies. "They think they know us," she said, studying the incoming data. "But we've been studying them for centuries." Lawrence nodded. "Have you seen the space battle reports? The Macrovians are shocked that we know their tactics so well." "Not surprising," Samantha said. "We've been gathering intelligence on them since the peace treaty was signed. Every cultural exchange program, every trade mission, every scientific collaboration, all opportunities to learn." The Galactic Commonwealth had been built on principles of information sharing. Humans had enthusiastically participated, offering tremendous insights into agriculture, medicine, and physics. However, they had carefully controlled what knowledge they shared while absorbing everything other species offered. Samantha turned to another screen showing a genetic analysis of Macrovian biology. "Their next move will be to target our food supply. They think we don't know about their crop-killing bacteria." Lawrence frowned. "Will our modified seeds hold up?" "They've been genetically hardened against such attacks for at least 200 years. Samantha assured him. "Our ancestors were very thorough." A soft chime announced an incoming call. Admiral Carter's face appeared on a screen. "Doctors, Hope I'm not interrupting important work, he said. Samantha straightened. Not at all, Admiral. We're just reviewing the Macrovians' biological warfare attempt. Good. I need your assessment of their next move. Their main fleet is gathering near the Procyon system. Lawrence moved to a different console and brought up star charts. Based on their historical tactics and what we know of their psychology, they'll likely target multiple human colonies simultaneously. They want to stretch our defenses. They still don't understand our true capabilities, Samantha added. Macrovian military doctrine is built on visible shows of force. The concept of hidden strength goes against their cultural values. They can't imagine that we've been concealing our military power for 1,000 years. Admiral Carter nodded thoughtfully. We've received a message from 6 other Commonwealth species. They're formally declaring neutrality in this conflict. And the others? Lawrence asked. Waiting to see who wins, Carter said with a grim smile. But what the Macrovians don't know is that we've had defensive pacts with most Commonwealth species for centuries, secret agreements made through careful diplomacy. Samantha wasn't surprised. Human diplomats were famous throughout the galaxy for their skill at building relationships. What alien species saw as friendship and cultural exchange had often been strategic alliance building. Sir, Lawrence said, our analysis suggests the Macrovians will launch their main attack within 48 hours. They still believe they can overwhelm us with superior numbers. Then they're in for another surprise, Carter replied. Colonel Douglas is leading the counteroffensive from the command ship Reckoning. Our goal isn't to destroy the Macrovians, but to show them the full extent of our strength. We want surrender, not extinction. The Admiral's face grew serious. Doctors, there's another matter. The Macrovians are spreading propaganda throughout the Commonwealth. They're claiming humans have violated the peace treaty by maintaining secret military forces. Samantha couldn't help but laugh. Technically, they're right. Yes, Carter agreed. But we never promised not to defend ourselves. The treaty prohibited aggressive actions, not defensive preparations. After the call ended, Samantha returned to her research. On a secure console, she reviewed data from human operatives throughout Commonwealth space. For centuries, humans had placed their people in key positions across the galaxy. Scientists, traders, diplomats, and cultural ambassadors. Now these networks were providing critical intelligence about Macrovian movements and the reactions of other species. Lawrence, she called out suddenly, look at this. She pointed to data coming from a research station near Macrovian space. They're preparing to deploy their planetary ion cannon against our colony on Epsilon Eridani. Lawrence studied the information. That weapon could destroy the colony's defensive shields. If it worked, Samantha said with a knowing smile. But, remember Project Mirror Shield? We've known about their ion technology for 200 years and developed countermeasures. Our shields on Epsilon Eridani have been specifically designed to absorb and redirect ion energy. Lawrence shook his head in amazement. The planning that went into all this, generation after generation of humans preparing for a war they hoped would never come. That's what the Macrovians don't understand about us, Samantha said. Peace was always our preference, but preparedness is in our nature. We remember our history, how unprepared planets were conquered, how civilizations fell, because they weren't ready for threats. A young assistant entered the lab carrying a secure data tablet. Dr. Wright, the Macrovians have attempted to hack our primary defense network. They're using an algorithm they believe we've never seen. Samantha took the tablet and smiled. An algorithm we provided to them 300 years ago through a mathematical exchange program. We built in a backdoor then, and have been updating our defenses against it ever since. She made a few quick adjustments to the network security protocols. Their attack has been turned back on them. They'll be trying to understand how their secret weapon was so easily defeated. Lawrence watched as reports came in from across human space. The hidden strength of humanity was revealing itself hour by hour. Ships, weapons, and defenses that no alien had ever suspected were now being deployed. Do you think they'll surrender soon? He asked. Samantha shook her head. Not yet. The Macrovians are proud. They need to be shown the full extent of their mistake. Only then will they understand why we laughed when they declared war. She turned back to her work. The knowledge gathered over 1,000 years of peace was now being used to ensure that peace would return, but this time with a new understanding of humanity's true nature. Colonel Victor Douglas stood on the bridge of the massive command ship, Reckoning. At 2 kilometers long, it was the largest human warship ever built. For centuries, it had been hidden inside an asteroid in the Kuiper Belt beyond Neptune. Now, it led a fleet of 500 warships toward the main Macrovian force. Victor was 45 years old with a calm face that rarely showed emotion. He had spent his entire career preparing for this moment, hoping it would never come. Now that war had arrived, he felt ready. "Status report," he called to his bridge crew. Commander Eric Lane looked up from his station. "All ships in position, sir. The Macrovians have no idea we're here. Their fleet is still gathering near Procyon." Victor nodded. Intelligence reports showed that the Macrovians had assembled their main battle fleet, over 1,200 ships, for a massive strike against multiple human colonies. They still believed they held the advantage in numbers and firepower. "Open a channel to all ships," Victor ordered. When the communication system was ready, he spoke clearly and calmly. "This is Colonel Douglas. The Macrovians have chosen war over peace. Our mission is not to destroy them, but to show them the error of their choice. Target their weapons and engines. Avoid casualties when possible. Remember your training. Douglas out." He turned to his tactical officer, Major Lisa Gomez. "Begin the operation." Throughout the human fleet, ships activated advanced weapon systems that had been developed in secret over centuries. The weapons were designed to disable rather than destroy. Precision energy beams that could cut through Macrovian shields and target specific systems without causing ships to explode. On the main screen, Victor watched as hundreds of small fighter craft launched from the larger ships. These fighters were completely autonomous, controlled by artificial intelligence systems that had been perfected over hundreds of years. No human pilots risked their lives in these small craft. "Sir," called out Commander Lane, "the Macrovians have detected our approach. They're scrambling to battle positions." Victor remained calm. "They're surprised. They didn't expect us to know about their gathering point or to have such a large force. Let's show them what else they don't know about us." He gave a simple command. "Activate the disruption field." Throughout the human fleet, special devices powered up. These devices had been designed specifically to counter Macrovian technology. Within moments, half of the Macrovian ships found their communication systems failing. Their targeting computers showed false information. Their engines struggled to maintain power. "They're in disarray," reported Major Gomez. "Their formation is breaking." Victor nodded. This was the result of centuries of careful intelligence gathering. Every time humans had traded technology with the Macrovians, they had studied how Macrovian systems worked. Every cultural exchange had been an opportunity to learn about Macrovian military doctrine. Every scientific collaboration had revealed something about their technical capabilities. "Begin Phase 2, Victor ordered. The human fleet split into 3 groups that moved with perfect coordination. Advanced AI systems calculated optimal attack vectors. Ships that had trained together for decades executed complex maneuvers that confused and separated the Macrovian forces. "Sir, we're receiving a transmission from the Macrovian command ship," said the communications officer. "Put it through," Victor replied. The face of Fleet Master Drell Tar appeared on screen. The Macrovian commander looked shocked and angry. "What is this? How do you have such forces? Such weapons? This violates the spirit of our peace treaty." Victor's expression remained neutral. "The treaty prohibited acts of aggression, Fleet Master. It never prevented us from being prepared to defend ourselves. You declared war on us, remember? Your hidden military buildup is an act of deception," the Macrovian protested. "Call it what you wish," Victor replied. "The fact remains that you broke the peace, not us. Now you face the consequences of that choice." As they spoke, human ships continued their precisely choreographed attack. Macrovian vessels found their weapons disabled, their engines shut down by targeted energy pulses. The battle was less a fight and more a demonstration of overwhelming technological superiority. Victor ended the transmission and turned to Major Gomez. Status of the operation? Proceeding as planned, sir. 800 Macrovian ships have been disabled. The rest are retreating or surrendering. Casualties are minimal on both sides. Victor allowed himself a small smile of satisfaction. 6 months of war had led to this moment. The effective end of the Macrovian threat without massive loss of life. It was the outcome he had trained for his entire career. His communication system chimed. It was Admiral Carter calling from Earth. Excellent work, Colonel, Carter said. The Macrovian leadership is in chaos. Some are calling for immediate surrender while others want to continue fighting. They still don't understand what they're facing, Victor replied. Carter nodded. Which is why we need to show them more. You have authorization to proceed to Phase 3. Phase 3. Victor had hoped it wouldn't be necessary, but he wasn't surprised. The Macrovians needed to understand the full extent of humanity's preparation. After the call ended, Victor addressed his bridge crew. Set course for the Macrovian home system. It's time to show them what we could have done if we'd wanted to destroy them, rather than simply defeat them. As the Reckoning and its fleet moved toward Macrovian space, reports came in from across the galaxy. Human colonies that had appeared weak and vulnerable revealed massive defense systems. Planets that had been listed as uninhabited in official records showed cities housing millions of humans. Whole fleets emerged from hiding places in nebulae, gas giants, and artificial asteroids. Most shocking to the Macrovians was the revelation that humans had established hundreds of colonies beyond Commonwealth space, worlds that had never been counted in official population statistics. These colonies now sent ships and resources to support the war effort. When the human fleet arrived at the outer edge of the Macrovian home system, they didn't attack. Instead, they simply formed a perfect sphere around the system's borders. Then, one by one, they activated their main weapons, planet-killing devices that could reduce worlds to molten rock. The weapons powered up but did not fire. The message was clear. We could destroy you completely, but we choose not to. Victor opened a channel to the Macrovian leadership. This is Colonel Victor Douglas of the Earth Defense Force. As you can see, we have the capability to destroy your civilization. We have had this capability for centuries, yet for 1,000 years we chose peace. He paused to let his words sink in. Now you have a choice. Continue this war and face extinction, or return to peace with a new understanding between us. As he waited for their response, Victor reflected on the long chain of human history that had led to this moment. For 1,000 years, generation after generation had maintained the peace while preparing for war. Children had grown up, lived full lives, and died without ever seeing these weapons fired in anger. Yet they had built them, maintained them, and improved them just in case. That dedication, that foresight across centuries was humanity's true strength, not the weapons themselves, but the will to create them while hoping they would never be needed. The Macrovians, it seemed, were finally beginning to understand why humans had chuckled when war was declared. They had not been facing an unprepared civilization, but one that had been ready for this moment for 1,000 years. 1 year after the Macrovians had declared war, the Great Hall of the Commonwealth Council was filled to capacity. Representatives from all 17 species sat in curved rows facing the central speaking area. The atmosphere was tense and quiet. Grandy. Admiral Elizabeth Foster walked confidently to the center of the hall. She was 60 years old with silver hair and the straight posture of someone who had spent a lifetime in military service. As Supreme Commander of Human Forces, she had overseen the entire war effort. Now she would negotiate its end. Beside her stood the Macrovian High Commander Zaxtor, no longer proud and threatening but subdued. His once magnificent uniform had been replaced by simple clothing. His fleet was destroyed, his homeworld surrounded by human ships that could reduce it to ash with a single command. Honored representatives of the Commonwealth, Elizabeth began, her voice clear and strong. 1 year ago, the 1,000-year peace between our peoples was broken. Today, we gather to restore it. The alien delegates watched her carefully. Many had been shocked by the revelation of humanity's hidden strength. Some were afraid. Others were impressed. All were paying close attention. "The war is over," Elizabeth continued. "The Macrovian Imperium has surrendered unconditionally. Their remaining forces have stood down. Their weapons have been disabled. Their leadership has agreed to our terms." She gestured to Zaxtur, who stepped forward. The Macrovian's voice was flat as he spoke the words of formal surrender. "The Macrovian Imperium acknowledges its error in breaking the peace treaty. We accept all terms imposed by humanity and the Commonwealth. We ask for mercy and understanding." When he finished, Elizabeth addressed the council again. "Some of you may expect us to demand harsh punishment for the Macrovians. You may think we will take their worlds, exploit their resources, or force them into servitude. After all, they tried to do these things to us." She paused, looking around the hall. "But that is not our way. That is not why we maintained peace for 1,000 years, even while preparing for war." Elizabeth nodded to her aide, who activated a large display in the center of the hall. It showed the terms of the new peace treaty. The Macrovians will keep their independence. They will keep their worlds. They will remain members of the Commonwealth. But they will reduce their military to defensive capabilities only under supervision. They will open their research facilities to Commonwealth inspectors, and they will acknowledge publicly that they misjudged humanity. Murmurs spread through the hall. Many delegates had expected much harsher terms. Elizabeth waited for quiet before continuing. 1,000 years ago, our ancestors made peace with yours not because we feared war, but because we chose peace. That choice was renewed every day for a millennium. But we never forgot how to fight." She looked directly at Zaxtur. "The Macrovian High Commander has asked me a question many times during our negotiations. Today I will answer it publicly." He asked, "Why did you laugh when we declared war?" Elizabeth smiled slightly. "Because you misunderstood the fundamental nature of humanity. During the 1,000 years of peace, 17 generations of humans were born, lived, and died without experiencing war against another species. Yet each generation prepared for it nonetheless." She began to walk slowly around the central area, making eye contact with delegates from each species. "The peace wasn't maintained because we had grown soft or forgotten conflict. It was maintained precisely because we remained vigilant. When the Macrovians declared war, they weren't awakening a sleeping giant. They were challenging one that had been wide awake all along, one that had been studying them while they assumed we had grown complacent." Elizabeth stopped and faced Zaxtur directly. "We chuckled not out of disrespect, but because after 1,000 years of preparation, you chose to test us. It would be like watching someone train their entire life to challenge the ocean to a swimming contest." The Macrovian seemed to shrink under her gaze. For the first time, he truly understood the magnitude of his mistake. Elizabeth turned back to the council. "Some of you knew about our preparations. Some of you had secret treaties with us. Some of you were completely surprised. Now all of you know the truth. Humanity values peace, but we will always be ready for war." She gestured to a group of human delegates who entered carrying data tablets. "We are proposing a new Commonwealth defense initiative. Every species that wishes to join will share defensive technologies and training. Together, we will ensure that peace is maintained not through hope alone, but through strength and readiness." As the meeting continued, Admiral Gregory Carter watched from his seat among the human delegation. Beside him sat Lieutenant Patricia Reeves, Dr. Samantha Wright, and Colonel Victor Douglas, key figures who had helped win a war that could have destroyed civilizations, but instead ended with minimal loss of life. "Do you think they understand now?" Patricia asked quietly. Carter nodded. "I think they're beginning to. The Macrovians thought our 1,000 years of peace had made us weak. Instead, it gave us time to become stronger than they could imagine." On the main floor, Elizabeth was finishing her address. "Let this be the lesson of our conflict. Peace is not the absence of strength, but its greatest expression. Humanity could have built an empire through force at any time during the past 1,000 years. We chose cooperation instead. That choice stands." As the council session ended, Zach's tour approached the human delegation. His usual arrogance was gone, replaced by genuine curiosity. "There is one thing I still do not understand," he said to Admiral Carter. "How did your people maintain such focus across so many generations? Most species would have grown careless, forgotten the old preparations, let their guard down." Carter considered the question. Each generation teaches the next what matters most. For 1,000 years, we taught our children that peace is precious but fragile, that the stars hold wonders and dangers alike. That being ready for trouble doesn't mean you want it to come. He smiled slightly. There's an old human saying, "Hope for the best, prepare for the worst." For 1,000 years, we hoped for continued peace while preparing for the day it might end. When that day came, we were ready. As the Macrovian walked away, Colonel Douglas joined them. "The new defense treaties are being well received. Most Commonwealth species are eager to join." "And the others?" Carter asked. Watching carefully, Douglas replied, "But I think they'll come around. No one wants to be unprepared if another war comes." Dr. Wright nodded. "The most important outcome is that we've changed how the galaxy sees humanity. They thought we were peaceful because we were weak. Now they know we're peaceful because we choose to be." As they left the council chamber, they looked out through a large window at the stars. 1,000 years of peace had ended with a brief war. Now a new peace would begin, one based not on the illusion that humanity had been tamed by civilization, but on the recognition that they had chosen peace while maintaining the capacity for war. Carter thought about all the generations that had come before, maintaining vigilance across the centuries, and he thought about all the generations that would come after, carrying that legacy forward into the stars. The Macrovians had ended the 1,000-year peace, but in doing so, they had helped create something stronger to replace it. Outside the window, the lights of 1,000 ships twinkled in the darkness. Some were visible, others remained hidden, watching and waiting. Humanity's silent guardians, the strength behind their smile.